Welcome back to episode 30 of the ATD Baseball Podcast. Myself and Matt here today. Matt, how you doing?
I am doing very good. I'm doing very good. Love where the Phillies are at right now. Seeing some great baseball being played. Um, yeah, we're getting into college football season. I'm a fan of that. We just talked about that for a little bit off air, so uh, love that. How are you, Mello?
Doing fantastic. Dodgers are beating up on the horrible schedule that they have. Swept the Rockies, took a two-game series from the Diamondbacks, ended the Padres season last weekend. It's been fantastic. Sweeping the A's. They're 8.5 games up in the division. Your mom and pop Dodgers, who don't spend any money, are 8.5 games up in the division when everybody and their mother thought San Diego was going to run away with this. So I'm happy for that. And screw you people who try to go against us this year. Coming in
Fair
hot
enough.
today. Oh, and the
Fair
Angels
enough.
still stink. There you go.
There you go. That's your cherry on top right there.
Yes, and the Angels still stink. Have you made any progress? No? Figured. Another
Yeah,
week has
we
gone by. The Angels are still
yeah.
100 games back of the wild card, and their fans still think they're A, re signing Otani, and B, they still think they have a chance. That's all.
Oh man. All right. Do you want to let us know what we're gonna be talking about? Run us down the
Yes.
topics.
Yes. So Matt Olson, he's turned into Barry Bonds in the last 2 weeks. So we have a question about that. Uh Division leading teams, who will stay? And I think you already know my answer with one of them. You just heard it. Who will stay in the first place position to the end of the season? The Wander Franco situation, unfortunately, stuff like this happens and it's uncomfortable, but we have to address it, at least give our initial thoughts about it. And then I know I just said the NL West was basically over, but the Diamondbacks, are they a playoff team or not? I don't know. Still got a chance, but we'll just start right off the top. Matt Olson is lighting the world on fire. All of a sudden, he leads the league in home runs with 43. So the
Yeah.
question that we have, who will finish with more home runs? Shohei Otani or Matt Olson? I know Kyle's answer.
Yeah. And I was hoping that maybe we could have a good debate on this, but I'm afraid that we're going to end up agreeing. Um, I'm I'm picking Matt Olson. Right now he's got a 2 home run lead over Shohei, 43-41. Shohei, Melo already spoke about it. He might not have much to play for anymore this season. And why would you want to take a chance and end your season on a bad note when you are due for six, seven, maybe 800 million, probably from those Dodgers. Um, could be somebody else, who knows? But why would he want to go out there and risk it if he's nowhere close to history? Like, let's say they both top out around 55, 56, something like that. Why would Shohei want to go out there and risk it when he's sure maybe he's 1 or 2 home runs behind Matt Olson, but he's still like 8 from the record? Those games don't mean anything to him anymore. Obviously, he just recently he skipped a start, and pitching is 100% different than batting. I understand that because my guy Bryce Harper, he doesn't pitch, but he plays the field, and he didn't play the field for a long time, but he was able to hit. So maybe he'll continue hitting the whole way through the season. But I could see Shohei saying, "Hey, all I did, I tweaked my back again recently. I'm going to take 2 weeks off. I'm going to take the rest of the year off. However much." While Matt Olson, he's not going to be playing any necessarily meaningful games because the Braves division is already unlocked. Spoiler alert to the next segment we're going to talk about here. But I have to go with Matt Olson. I have an interesting question for you then, but I want to see what your response is to this first.
Yeah, we're gonna agree. I know the point of the segment is probably to go the other way, but it's just Matt Olson is gonna finish with more home runs than Shohei Otani. That Braves lineup is so damn good that you're gonna have to pitch to somebody. you have to pitch to Acuna. Well, you don't have to, but then you put him on base, and that's a whole nother beast that you have to deal with. He's leading the league in stolen bases. Ozzy Albies, all these guys, Michael Harris, Austin Riley, you're gonna have to pitch to somebody. That's what's happening with Matt Olson right now. You're pitching to him, and rightfully so, he is destroying the baseball. So this Braves lineup is so damn good. And I wouldn't be surprised if I would be very surprised if Matt Olson is at least doesn't at least finish the year with 54, 53 home runs. I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, I think that's a good mark for him to be able to get to. I'm not sure we're going to see an Aaron Judge chase here. That'll probably put Kyle's mind and heart at ease there, but he wants to hold that record for at least a season. But I think it'd be very entertaining if we did. If Shohei Ohtani, let's say he hits 2 games in a row for the next couple of weeks. Not 2 home runs every game for the next 2 weeks. Okay, that's not going to happen. But
Wow.
he goes on a nice little tear here. I think it'd be very entertaining to see. And that would absolutely be amazing for ESPN and all those Fox and all those big companies that like to ball watch Shohei a lot. I think it'd be very entertaining to see how they finally start to become baseball experts now that Shohei Ohtani's big news. It's always funny to see the people who don't ever talk about baseball and make themselves look like idiots by their takes and what they say. But I have a question. Do you think that Matt Olson is more loved by the Braves fans than Freddie Freeman was? And I understand there might be some angst towards Freddie, like a little bit now since he left the Braves, but before that, obviously Freddie got them the ring, so that's huge. But besides that, Matt Olson, I'm not sure if he was born in Atlanta, but I think he's a Georgia guy, or at least a Southern guy. And he's really, if he can get into the home run chase, chasing history with the Braves, lead them to because now he's got the chance to lead them, be co-leader to the Braves winning the World Series a couple times, making it to the World Series a couple times. Do you think he could go down as a better Brave all time than Freddie Freeman?
Oh man, that's hard, man. Like with the being a better Brave than Freddie Freeman, I don't think he's gonna do that just because I just think Freddie has a very good close relationship with the Braves fans in the city of Atlanta. You know what I think it is? Number one, I think it's because it's more recency bias. I think that's a
That's
part
fair.
of it. And Matt Olson is doing it with more pop, more home runs. I'm looking at Baseball Reference right now. Freddie Freeman, in his 11 years he was in Atlanta, the highest home run total he ever had was in 2016. Wasn't no, excuse me, 2019 when he hit 38 home runs. So I just think Matt Olson hitting the long ball more. I mean, I know there's that saying chicks dig the long ball, but really everybody digs the long ball. So it's hard. Now listen, if in the Braves, listen, all it takes if the Braves win the World Series this year, Matt Olson and Freddie are tied with one. And keep in mind, Olson is what, on year two? Yeah, year two. And he still has like another 5, 6 seasons to go to get another one.
Yep.
But I mean, if you're a Braves fan, don't compare the two. Just be grateful that you've had both of these great Hall of Fame first basemen on your club. Now, listen, I know that's not going to happen. People are going to choose their favorites. But to answer your question, I still think there's too much love for Freddie just because he was there so long and he came through their minor league system.
That's fair. I'll do a quick hypothetical and then we'll move on. Let's say
I think I know where
uh,
you're going with this.
let's say Matt Olson gets an MVP and to even him out there, even though Freddie got the COVID MVP, but Some people say that's completely valid. Some say it means less. Either way, he got an MVP with the Braves. Um, let's say Matt Olson wins 3 World Series rings with the Braves. That's lofty expectations. But do you think he's a better career Brave than Freddie then?
Then I would say yes, just because he got the rings more quickly, faster.
True.
And if you're saying, 3 rings, that's basically almost half of the years he was in Atlanta, they won a championship.
Yeah. That's fair.
Again, it's like, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody wants to be quick to uh instant gratification now, and obviously that's what Matt Olson is giving them. So now we're gonna switch gears. Melo talked about it a little bit earlier. He seems pretty confident in his Dodgers and where they're at right now, obviously winning the NL West. But we're gonna go through all the division leaders and just a very quick, prediction of if we think they're gonna win their division, if they're gonna, stay in first place for the rest of the season. So just to go through who's winning all the divisions right now. AL East, you got the Orioles, AL Central, the Twins, AL West, the Rangers. Then the NL East, you got the Braves, NL Central, you have the Brewers, and the NL West, obviously the Dodgers, like we talked about. So we're gonna start with the first team I mentioned, Baltimore Orioles. Melo, do you think they end up on top of their division when it's all said and done?
100%. If they don't, it'll be a big disappointment to me.
Wow.
Over the 162, to me, they've shown that they're a pretty damn good team. I know they're still young and they're probably still learning on the fly, but I've seen enough to where, you know what, they should win this division. Especially with the next topic we're going to get into with the Rays. There's no excuse why Baltimore shouldn't win this division. I'd be shocked if they don't win it.
I'm not gonna go as far as shocked, but I think yeah, this is the Orioles division to lose, so to say. I think they got like a 3-game lead right now on the Rays, and like you just said, the next topic we got here with obviously dealing with the very big Rays player, a superstar for them, could widen that lead too. So yeah, I think it's the Orioles division to lose right now. Scooting over to the AL Central. How about the Minnesota Twins?
I'm not confident, but I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think this is your AL Central winner. Now, as I say that, here come the Guardians, and they're gonna take over the division. But they've been somewhat the most consistent team. I know they've had their struggles too, but they've been able to stay afloat in a weak division that shouldn't be hard to do. So I think the Twins are going to win the AL Central. I think they hang on.
I think the Twins get it by default because there's no other teams really worthy of winning it in the AL Central. The Guardians were sellers at the trade deadline. They said, nah, we're 2.5 games out or whatever it was at the time. Nah, I don't think we can make it. And traded away their guy who's having the best season on the mound for them this year, Aaron Savali. Traded away a piece that they brought in at first base, which he wasn't doing great in Josh Bell. Um, you sort of
Ahmed
punted on the
Rosario.
season. Ahmed Rosario, yes, of course. Um, traded him out to LA. I just think the Twins are the only team trying to win the division. And even then, we talked about them as having one of the most disappointing trade deadlines because they didn't make any moves. So even they didn't try that hardly to win the division. So I'm gonna have to go with the Twins, but I don't feel confident in them even winning a playoff series, even winning that wild card series that they're going to be destined for. How about the AL West though? This one's interesting.
Oh man, this is I would love to see if the Astros and the Rangers have any head-to-head matchups against each other. Because if they do, that's gonna be must-see TV. But you know what? I understand they got Scherzer at the deadline and they got all that pitching. Just something about Houston, the defending champs. I think they're gonna win the division. I think they're gonna
Okay.
overtake the Rangers.
Here, I thought I'd come in and have a spicy take and say the
Oh
Astros are going
shoot.
to take over the division. But no, I don't blame you. So currently, the Astros are 2.5 games out. Um, and really, they're kind of just getting going now. Like, Jordan's healthy and came back. Obviously, pitching is still, they're still injured there, but they just brought in a Verlander, brought him back. So, it, this team, it's the same as the Dodgers. You're stupid to bet against them. Okay, people were betting on the Padres to win the division this year. Obviously, a different. Everybody picked the Astros winning the division going into this year, but like you still don't want to bet against them at this point, even though they're 2.5 games back. Um, a current standings check or schedule check for the Astros. They play the Rangers 3 more times this season. In September. So
Is it in Houston or in?
it is in Texas, in Arlington there. Sorry, that was stupid. It was in Texas. Of course it was in Texas, Matt.
It's a big state, man. It's okay.
Yeah, it was terrible. It's bad podcasting by me right there. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Astros on this one. I really think that they're gonna sneak up and win the division. It's not gonna be by much. It's not gonna be because the Rangers end up to be this terrible team. I don't think they go on a Diamondbacks run. I just think, hey, the Rangers are out there winning, 60% of their games the rest of the season, and the Astros win 70, and it's just going to be enough to overtake them for the lead. Switching over to the National League side, my division, you're not going to hurt anybody's hurt feelings here or mellow. The Braves, they're up 11 games in the division now over the Phillies. Come on, it is a layup.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, they're not. It's not going to happen. But unless they have just a complete meltdown, something the Mets would do.
Yeah.
But this is Atlanta all the way. They're clearly the best team, probably the best team in this league.
Yeah, it's not really a competition. I mean, the Phillies were playing from a wild card from the opening day, in my opinion. But that's okay. They accepted that reality. I think as a team, whether they're honest about it or not, they knew the Braves were going to be fantastic and going to be world beaters this year. So I don't think they feel bad about being the number one wild card. That way you get to face the Brewers too. So, or the Reds, or perfect segue here. Whoever comes out of the NL Central. Currently Brewers up 3.5 games over the Cubs and the Reds. This one's interesting too. Do we think the Brewers end up on top?
I do. I said this last week. I think I trust them the most out of the three teams because they still have that core there that have won in the past in this division. Cubs, they're a good story, but I think they got hot not at the wrong time, but I think it's just a tad bit late. But I mean, it was good. They didn't sell. That's a good thing. They kept all their pieces and they're going for it. And if you don't win the division, cool. Just try to stay in that wild card spot. That's nothing wrong with that. But compared to where the Cubs were at the beginning of this season, I trust the Brewers. I'm gonna stay with that.
That's fair. They've been there the last couple years. They've won the division, obviously, pretty consistently, off and on, them and the Cardinals for a little bit now.
Might be moving.
Yeah, they might be moving. I'm gonna have to go with the Brewers though. I like the Cubs, and I said last week I think they're gonna be a playoff team. I think they're gonna get in the wild card, sneak in the wild card. But I'm not sure they're gonna win the division. I don't feel I don't feel confident. Like you said, that I don't know if they got hot at the wrong time, but it's just you need that momentum at the end of the season. I'm not saying they won't get it, but I think it would have been great for them to wait just a couple more weeks to peak. All right, NL West. This is the second easiest one, probably.
Listen, Padres didn't want it. Diamondbacks can't handle the pressure. Rockies are terrible. And the Giants had a very easy schedule in the last 2 weeks, and they were disappointing. They got swept a 2-game series to Oakland. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Angels. They've just been playing some bad baseball. I think they lost 2 out of 3 to Texas. If not, they won that series. I think they lost 2 out of 3. They were a heroic home run away yesterday for being swept.
2 out of 3 they lost.
Yeah. So Giants haven't played well. For the 21st time in Los Angeles Dodgers history, your National League West champion, Los Angeles Dodgers, for the 21st time in franchise history.
Okay. Nah, I don't disagree. I feel
Damn right.
I honestly feel almost more confident, as crazy as it sounds, that the Dodgers win their division than the Braves. That's just
Wow.
because I like to feel confident that the Phillies are going to be good the rest of the season. I don't trust the Giants that much. You're talking about the Giants' schedule. They got a bit of a tough stretch here. They got the Rays, 3 against the Rays, 3 against the Braves, 3 against the Phillies, 3 more against the Braves, and then 3 in Cincinnati before coming back out to oh, no, not coming back out. They were back out for the Braves before going down to San Diego. So a tough little 9-12 game stretch there. So
Yeah, and like I said, this was after they had a very easy schedule. This is after they had a very easy schedule. Diamondbacks, like I said, the A's, they couldn't beat them.
yeah,
Angels, Rangers. It's just like I said. I think the
yeah,
the
even
Giants were 2.5 games behind the Dodgers 2 weeks ago, and then they played bad. Dodgers beat up on the bad teams, and they have an 8.5 game lead, and that essentially could be the difference in who won that division.
they had a 6-game losing streak to the Reds and the Nationals. They got swept by the Nationals across 3 games. Oh, and then they had a random makeup game versus Detroit, and they managed to lose that. So tough look.
Got to beat the bad teams.
That's right. That's right. Everybody makes fun of schedules, but then the teams that take care of business are the teams that are good. It's not their fault who they're playing. They don't come up with schedules. So, okay. Oh, listen, we don't want to talk about things like this. Okay. I'll preface it by that. And there was a conversation of if we would talk about it in the podcast, even because frankly, it puts us in a strange spot here to talk about it. But obviously, Wander Franco allegations out there that allegations, complete allegations. Nobody knows for sure if this is legitimate or not. So that he is been in a relationship, is in a relationship with an underage girl in the Dominican Republic. Obviously, he's not with the Rays anymore right now, taking time away from the team. You hate to see this. This is like despicable behavior from a full-grown man, or should be a full-grown man. I don't know. I mean, I can't say enough that this is like not excusable behavior in the slightest. But we'll talk about the baseball side for the most part. How do you think this affects the Rays?
You know, and we had heard things in the past about how Wander Franco kind of little toxic in the locker room, not, very gets upset very easy, takes it out on his teammates, throwing stuff, and then this happens, and it was very weird to hear he had a day off, and number two, they asked him to leave middle of the game. That's not normal. That's not something you see on a normal basis. And then we find out he's not even going to the plane ride to San Francisco. And it's like, oh shit. And then we were waiting for like a big reporter, and then Jeff Passan last night said it. So, like I said, we don't want to talk about this. I don't know what's gonna happen, you know, what information they're gonna find. It's not a good look, you know. It's not a good look. Doesn't matter if the girl was 17, doesn't make it any difference. It's not good. Not a
No.
good look. But just going back to the baseball point, you know, it's amazing. 3 months ago, I think they were the quickest team to get to 50 wins, or they were the first team to get to 50 wins. And it was like, okay, because nobody takes the race seriously because they spend no money. So they think, oh, well, and I myself fall guilty of this every year. It's like, oh, well, Rays, they don't have a high payroll. Well, they're not going to do anything. They might win some games, but they're not going to win the division. They're not going to make any noise in the postseason. And again, they were doing it this year. They were like the quickest team to get to 50 wins. They look like world beaters every night. They have taken some hits lately. Shane McClanahan is done for the season. And now this whole Wander Franco situation. And obviously, we're not major league players. We don't know what it feels like to have something like this happen in the locker room, but I'd have to imagine that this has to be a big 2 steps back for a team that probably thought they were gonna maybe not win the whole thing, but hey, we're in it. We're right there with all these top teams.
For
So
sure.
that's why I think, going back to the division, that's why I think I'd be shocked if Baltimore doesn't win their division. Just because there's problems going on in Tampa now, and I'm sure the players want some answers, and I feel bad for them because now they're going to have to take all the questions from all this.
Yeah, it's obviously, like we said, not a great situation. And you brought up the locker room. Let's say I don't know how this even works out, because there's a whole non-baseball side to this even. So, but let's say either he gets found innocent, let's just say, and he comes back. I mean, we've all been around, well, both of us, I'll say it. We've been around, groups of friends and in locker rooms and stuff. And neither of us have been in this sort of situation. But even with something, let's just say something embarrassing, and that's on a way lower scale. Okay. Let's say something embarrassing happens. Those guys are going to rat on you. They're going to dog on you about it. Okay. But then when something like this happens, something that is serious, that's real life, and you see how some of these people who are, and this is on the way other spectrum, in prison for inappropriate relationships, how they get treated in prison. Men don't tolerate stuff like that. Okay. That's one thing that it seems like guys just don't mess around with. So who knows how it'd even be received by the locker room, even if he's found innocent, if it's just by a lack of information, even necessarily. Because at this point, before Passan came out, and even with Passan, it's sort of just like social media. I don't want to say Twitter rumors, but it was all sort of based around apparently social media posts. So that's not even necessarily real life. And anytime you get out of the country, it can be hard to sort things out. But anyway, unless you have anything else you want to add to this, I think we're just going to put a bow on it like that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, I know if it is true what he did, he's a bad person and he should be put in prison. But you got to feel for the kid, man. 22 years old. He just got this contract from the Rays. He had his whole baseball career ahead of him. And, a guy from, I believe he's from the Dominican Republic. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. Not all those kids, man, make it to the majors. There are so many Dominican players kids that probably look up to him. And now that's all going to be put into question. And it sucks because there's so many Dominican kids, Hispanic kids, and even, kids here in the United States that they don't make it to the major leagues. They don't become professional ball players. It sucks because we all know, we say, oh, I would have handled that so much differently if I was in a situation. I would love to be in a situation with all the money you're playing professional baseball. But it's just one of these things where it's like real life stuff can get in the way too sometimes, and this is unfortunate. And we'll see what happens, but it's just sucks. Just
Yeah,
sucks.
it does. It's even like there's the disappointment of having a player get suspended for PEDs, like the whole Tatis situation. But then there's a whole that's not illegal, that's not against any actual U.S. laws, Dominican laws, But then when you get into the whole a whole different world, it's a whole different world.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible to see, but I think that's gonna do it for our conversation on that. Um, we're gonna end like we said, talked about the Diamondbacks earlier.
Dumping on them.
I guess we were kind of, and you're gonna get a second chance here if you think you didn't dump on them enough earlier. But and I want to toss the Red Sox in this mix too because I think they're in an interesting sort of same spot. Obviously the Diamondbacks, like we said, squandered away their lead and they're down to 500 now. Do you think the Red Sox, and I have obviously said the Diamondbacks, throw the Diamondbacks and the Red Sox, do you think they're playoff teams?
I do not. Neither of them.
Okay.
I don't. I don't. It just Diamondbacks. Listen, Diamondbacks obviously play on the West Coast, so if there's not a Dodger game on, I'm tuning into the Padres, Diamondbacks, Giants. I don't know what happened. They just. It seems like because they didn't play well at the All-Star break. That's when it started to decline. They were not playing well the last week and a half of the season of the first half. And it was like, okay, well, they're still a young team. They're probably going through their, bumps and bruises and ups and downs, like most teams do. It's just the thing. It's that they never got back up, and that's the thing that was so concerning. And you put out a graphic yesterday of teams' records of the last 30 games, and Diamondbacks are in dead last.
Yeah.
Dead last. Maybe they were a year too early and the expectations were built kind of too high because it changed very quickly. From the start of the season, it was like, okay, we got this kid, Corbin Carroll, one of the best prospects in the sport. He's making his debut. Let's see how it goes. And then all of a sudden, they started to play good baseball. They beat up on the Dodgers. They beat up on some teams. And it was like, they could make the playoffs and win this division. And Corbin Carroll is undoubtedly the National League Rookie of the Year. And just 2 months later, 500. And all the work that you did in the first half of the season didn't mean a damn thing. And I've said this to my family, and I'm going to say it on here. This is why we play 162 games. Nothing is determined in June. Now, listen, was I panicking and freaking out when the Dodgers were 4.5 games out of first place and they got swept by the Giants and they were barely 5 games over 500? I was. I'm not used to that. But most of the time, these things pan out. The better teams find a way to win games in the dog days of summer. And the Diamondbacks did not do that this year. I just don't think they're a playoff team. And the Red Sox, they've just been kind of mid all season. They've played well. They've had their points where they've played very well, and they look like they're going to sneak in. I just think looking right now at the standings, I think Toronto, Houston, even Seattle, they're better than the Red Sox. I don't see it happening.
Okay. Um, Diamondbacks 2.5 games out of the wild card. Red Sox 3 currently. So, like I said, in similar situations, Red Sox are 6 games above 500, whereas the Diamondbacks are at 500. Just speaks to the depth of the two leagues, obviously. Even so, I think there's better teams ahead of both of them. I mean, to answer it in a different phrase there, but yeah, no, I don't think they're playoff teams.
I
In the
agree.
National League, give me the Phillies, obviously. And I'm not just saying that as a Phillies fan. There are legit people out there who say the Phillies are the third best team in the National League. And they're definitely top 5, okay? I mean, you get the 3 divisions, the division leaders, and then a crazy person might say the Giants over the Phillies, but other than that, the Phillies might be better than the Brewers. So then you got the Phillies, you got the Giants who have been like we talked about them earlier. Okay, they haven't been great recently, but
They've stayed
they're
afloat.
still yeah exactly. They're still 8 games above 500, 1.5 in the division or in the wild card, up 1.5. The Marlins holding serve right now in the last wild card spot. They sort of picked it up because there was a stretch after the second half where they fell out of the wild card uh, position. They didn't have one spot. And then the Cubs, who I think are going to get the last wild card spot personally. But then, the Reds, currently they're tied with them. And I think I'd take the Diamondbacks over the Reds for the rest of the season, me personally. Um, but no, I don't think there's room for the Diamondbacks. And it sucks because I want to see them in personally, but I just don't think there's room. And I mean, imagine if we went back to 2 playoff teams again.
Wouldn't be
The,
close.
or 2 wild card teams. Yeah, it would be very close. And you think there's not enough room now, then I mean, just go back to a couple years ago and there was even less room. But on the American League side, Tampa Bay, obviously, I think they're pretty much a shoe in for a wild card spot, if not the first one. Um, it's currently Houston. We both said we think they'll win the division, though, so you can slot in the Rangers maybe, and then the Blue Jays in the third spot. Mariners just 1.5 behind them, and just last week, me and Kyle we said whether we take the Mariners or Blue Jays the rest of the season. Kyle said the Blue Jays. I went with the Mariners. I like what the Mariners are cooking right now, especially with their young pitching. It has been dominant the last week or so. You're getting these type of outings, 9 innings, no earned runs from George Kirby, and then you call up your top pitching prospect, and he's out here making great starts in your MLB debut. Um, Luis Castillo could make a final push for AL Cy Young. Honestly, I think the Mariners are at a better spot, and with the Red Sox, they're just not quite there. They didn't really. I mean, they didn't sell at the trade deadline. Trading away Kike, I don't think was selling necessarily. Other than that, I don't think they made any moves. Right?
I don't think so either. And then the Diamondbacks didn't do anything crazy either.
Yeah.
We all wanted them to get a big starting pitcher. I mean, part of it was listen, the Cubs were not going to trade Marcus Stroman.
Yeah.
The Rangers were very aggressive on getting Scherzer, so that was out. You couldn't do that.
The White Sox, I think the White Sox asking price was very high for Dylan Cease.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't necessarily a lot of options. But yeah, I think we both would have liked to see, well, maybe not you, but like as a baseball fan, people wanted to see the Diamondbacks go out and get some pieces for sure. But yeah, if you had to pick one though, who would you be more confident? Who would you bet your hard-earned money on if you had to choose one, the Diamondbacks or the Red Sox?
Diamondbacks. I just think the American League is a lot better. I think there's just better teams in the American League.
I'd have to go with the Diamondbacks too. I hate to do it to the Red Sox, but yeah, I think they're just in a little bit of a better spot. But you got anything else you want to add? Or are we putting a bow on this episode 30?
This wasn't one of the topics, and we don't have to make this a long discussion. But shout out to Fernando Valenzuela. It was so fun to
100%.
be at Dodger Stadium this weekend. They announced it back at the Fan Fest in January that they were going to do this, and it felt so. At the time, it felt so far away. Like, man, we got to wait till August to do this, and boom, it's already here and it's already gone. Special weekend. They retired his number on Friday. They gave him a bobblehead on Saturday, and they gave out 1981 replica rings on Sunday to commemorate the championship that they won. Special, very special. It was long overdue. Should have happened years ago, but he deserved it. He did a lot for us. He did a lot for the Latino community and had a big impact here in Los Angeles. And it was so satisfying to see Fernando Valenzuela finally have his day and have his number retired.
Did you get a replica ring?
I did not get a ring, but I did
Hmm.
find a bobblehead.
Okay.
Found it under somebody's seat after the game. Somebody left it.
That's crazy. I don't know why anybody would leave that behind, but
I have no idea, but I'm there to get it for you. So
all right. Yes, absolutely. Props to him. I believe, right? Rookie of the year and a Cy Young.
Rookie of the Year, Cy Young Award, started in the All Star game and won the World Series in 1981.
It's
Pretty good
crazy.
for
Yeah.
your opening act.
Yeah. Yeah. Well deserved. Definitely from the Dodgers. Good for them. And like you said, I haven't experienced it firsthand because I'm not in LA, obviously,
I
but
wasn't there either.
no. But still, you live in LA
True.
now, so you see it a little bit. But I've heard the impact is
He is
insane. It's awesome.
he Fernando is one of those guys, and obviously I didn't see him pitch, but he is one of those guys that does kind of walk on water. Anytime you see him, everybody goes nuts. And he hasn't been in a baseball uniform in almost 30 years. But
Yeah.
Dodger fans still go nuts anytime they show him on the screen, any highlights, and anytime he has a public event, he can do no wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for him. Well deserved. I think it's gonna be everything for episode 30. We're getting in the final push here. Teams making final push halfway through August now. Um, but yeah, I think that's gonna do it, and we'll talk to you all again on Friday. See ya.
Adios.